Imagine driving a car that could take you from one end of your country to the other on a single tank and charge, without ever worrying about finding a plug or a petrol station. A car that looks like it rolled straight out of a luxury design studio, yet costs less than most mid-tier European SUVs. A car that doesn't just whisper efficiency, but screams innovation. This isn't a dream concept or some future tech prototype. It's real, it's on sale, and it's called the Jaecoo J7 PHEV. When you first see it, it doesn't look like a newcomer. The stance is confident, with clean, sculpted lines, a bold front fascia, and lighting that could rival a Range Rover Velar. But Jaecoo's story isn't about imitation, it's about evolution. The J7 PHEV is part of Chery's new premium sub-brand, built to prove that China's next generation of vehicles aren't just catching up, they're overtaking. Pop the hood and you'll find a powertrain that immediately raises eyebrows. But what really steals the show is the range. On a full battery and a full tank, the Jaecoo J7 PHEV claims a total range of around 1,200 kilometers. Yes, you heard that right, over 1,000 kilometers without needing to stop. And in full electric mode, it can go about 90 to 106 kilometers, depending on the test cycle. That's enough to cover a week's worth of city commutes for most drivers without using a drop of petrol. Plug it in at night, drive all week on electricity, and save the fuel for the weekend trip out of town. The magic behind that number is Jaecoo's super hybrid system. It's tuned to automatically decide when to use electric power, when to blend both sources, and when to recharge the battery using the petrol engine. The transitions are almost invisible. You don't feel a jerk or a lag, it just flows. That's something even big European brands sometimes struggle with. Step inside, and the first thing that hits you is how premium the interior feels. You're greeted with a minimal yet futuristic design, clean surfaces, soft touch materials, and a massive floating infotainment screen that dominates the center. The digital cluster is crisp, animations are fluid, and even the ambient lighting feels curated rather than flashy. The steering wheel is wrapped in supple leather. The seats are deeply cushioned, yet supportive, and everything you touch has a reassuring solidity to it. You'd never guess this came from a brand that didn't even exist a few years ago. Jaecoo clearly understands that luxury isn't just about features, it's about feel. The sound insulation is thick, the cabin stays eerily quiet even at speed, and the suspension tuning strikes a balance between comfort and composure. Drive over rough patches and it absorbs them gracefully. Take a corner a bit too fast, and the underfloor battery's low center of gravity keeps it planted. This SUV has the poise of something far more expensive. Now, let's talk about real-world numbers, because this is where most hybrid SUVs get exposed. In city traffic, if you start each day with a full charge, you can genuinely drive electric for your daily errands and commutes. The battery alone gives you that 90-plus kilometer cushion, which means you'll barely hear the petrol engine unless you hit the highway. Once you do, the hybrid system blends power so efficiently that fuel economy figures drop below 5 liters per 100 kilometers in some tests. That's nearly double the efficiency of a traditional petrol SUV in this class. To really appreciate what the Jaecoo J7 PHEV delivers, you have to compare it with what else is out there. Let's start with the Omada C9 PHEV, a cousin from the same Chery family. It uses a slightly larger 34.5 kilowatt-hours battery in some trims, giving it up to 150 kilometers of electric range. Impressive, yes, but it also comes with a heavier body and a slightly higher price tag. The Jaecoo, by contrast, strikes a more balanced formula, lighter, more agile, and still capable of a legitimate 100 kilometers electric run. Then there's the Haval H6 PHEV, which pushes its Avonlea range even further, around 180 kilometers on paper in certain versions. But again, the trade-off is complexity and cost. The Jaecoo J7 keeps it simple, accessible, and luxurious without over-engineering. Compare it to Europe's benchmark plug-in SUVs, like the Audi Q5 TFSIe. And the story becomes even more interesting. The Audi's battery is about 14.4 kilowatt-hours, and its PHEV range hovers around 60 kilometers WLTP. That's nearly half of what the Jaecoo offers, yet the Audi costs nearly double in many markets. The J7 PHEV not only closes the technology gap, it turns the tables on efficiency and practicality. On the road, the Jaecoo J7 feels confident. Acceleration in EV mode is instant, almost silent, and perfectly suited to city traffic. Switch to hybrid, and you get the best of both worlds, electric smoothness blended with turbo-petrol muscle. Jaecoo claims the system can intelligently predict when to blend both sources, using GPS data and driving patterns to maximize efficiency. In plain language, the car learns how you drive, then optimizes itself accordingly. But power isn't the only thing that makes this SUV feel premium. It's the small details, the soft door thud, the way the cabin lighting adapts to time of day, the precision. in the rotary drive selector and the fact that Jaecoo has clearly studied what premium buyers expect and then delivered it at a lower entry point. There's also a touch of adventure baked into its DNA. The J7 PHEV isn't afraid of leaving the asphalt. With an intelligent all-wheel drive system, multiple terrain modes, and impressive torque distribution, it handles light off-roading with ease. The battery pack's placement keeps the vehicle stable on uneven ground, while the electric motor's instant torque gives you the kind of traction response that conventional petrol engines simply can't. Still, no review would be fair without acknowledging what could be improved. The infotainment system, while feature-rich, still has a learning curve. Some icons feel buried, and voice commands can occasionally misinterpret requests. Regenerative braking could also be smoother. At times, it's a bit too eager, especially for drivers new to EV-style braking. But these are refinements, not deal-breakers. Software updates can easily fine-tune them, and Jaecoo has already promised over-the-air improvements. What stands out the most about the Jaecoo J7 PHEV is what it represents. For decades, the conversation around premium hybrid SUVs has been dominated by European and Japanese brands. They set the tone, they defined the standards. Now, here comes a newcomer from China, delivering equal or better performance, double the EV range, and a design language that feels bold rather than borrowed. It's a signal that the balance of innovation is shifting, that premium no longer has to come with a European badge. And here's the kicker. While competitors are still struggling to find the sweet spot between electric and hybrid, Jaecoo nailed it early. That 1,200-kilometer range figure isn't marketing fluff, it's a promise of freedom. The freedom to explore without compromise. The freedom to skip the anxiety of range limits or the inconvenience of long charging waits. The freedom to just drive. For families, it's a practical choice. For commuters, it's an electric escape. For enthusiasts, it's proof that hybrid tech can still excite. And for the market, it's a warning shot that the future of premium mobility might not come from where we expect. By the time you park it and step out, there's a certain disbelief that follows. You realize you've just driven something that feels like a concept car. Yet it's sitting on a real dealership floor. The Jaecoo J7 PHEV might not be a household name yet, but it's quietly rewriting the rulebook. With its 100 kilometers EV range, its 1,200 kilometers total endurance, its luxurious interior, and its price that undercuts everything it competes with. It's more than a car, it's a statement. So the next time someone tells you that premium hybrids have to come from Europe or Japan, show them this. Because the Jaecoo J7 PHEV doesn't just bridge the gap between electric and petrol, it closes it completely.